Hello, my name is Carl Daubert. I'm a mental performance coach, and I'm here today to talk to you guys about mental flexibility. So, mental flexibility is a topic that I talk with my clients about all the time. It's just a super crucial and important skill set to have in order to perform your best as consistently as possible. With the current state of the world today, it's something that I know and I've heard a lot of people are really looking for and are looking for more information on how to develop it, how to get it, what it is. So that's exactly what today's presentation is going to go over. We're going to go over what mental flexibility is, how it's a little bit different than mental toughness. We're also going to give you a 5-step plan of how to develop and start to actually train the skill of mental flexibility in your day-to-day life, and then give some examples of what that actually looks like in the practical world so you have a good idea of what ways it might be able to help you. Before we get into any of that though, I do want to go over just a little bit about who I am and why I can kind of speak on this topic. So I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have a master's degree in sport and performance psychology. I've been working as a mental performance coach for about 4.5 years now, mostly with college and high school athletes, though I have been working with some professional athletes, and I've also been working with some middle school age students as well. I've recently branched out into the business world, and I've been working with business owners and business leaders to get the most out of their mental performance that way. And I also work with a lot of people on just overall mental health and mental wellness and what that looks like in their day-to-day life. All right, so here we go. We're going to talk about mental flexibility and how you can use it and what ways it might be helpful for you in your day-to-day life. To get started, I think the best place is the current state of things. And the reason why the current state of things is so important to discuss first is because what's going on right now and what mental flexibility can do kind of go hand in hand. And we want to have a really deep understanding of that so that way we know how mental flexibility can actually help us with what we have going on right now and even into the future. And that conversation starts with talking about loss. And this list that we have in front of us right now is not comprehensive, but these are the things that I have been hearing from my clients the most. So we've got jobs, whether that's you lost your job entirely through a layoff or something along those lines, whether your hours were cut, wages cut, all of that stuff, and obviously the economic stuff goes hand in hand with that. We've also got athletic seasons for the coaches and athletes that I'm involved with. They're just up in smoke, suddenly taken away, and now we no longer have access to them. We're not going to do them. We've got contact with the people nearest and dearest to us. I would love to go see my friends, and I'm thankful for technology for offering me a way to see them at least somewhat, but I think we would all agree that it's not quite the same. So that's something that we've kind of lost. We've got the school year. Some students are actually really upset that they aren't going to be able to go back to school. High school students, their graduations and stuff like that, even college students, and what that means for their degree programs and things like that, all a big question mark right now, which is kind of scary. And then the overarching theme that's kind of being talked about in the news and in social media right now is this idea of normalcy, or what is the new normal. And we're going to talk about that and what that means. But here, we have, whether you're on this list or not, or something that you've lost is on this list or not, it all creates this emotional response. It all creates this immediate sensation when we have that moment of loss. And these are, again, not a comprehensive list, but the things that my clients are sharing with me the most. We've got fear, anger, anxiety, stress, lack of motivation, decrease in confidence. These things are kind of hitting everyone in different waves and in different ways. And, the big thing that I want to discuss here is that the emotional response is natural. It's 100% natural to feel these things. Going back to this idea of normalcy, we all had a way of viewing the world, a way of going about our business that we just thought certain things were always going to be the way that they were. No one was expecting to be told that they wouldn't be able to hang out with their friends, one day versus another day. We all had this idea of what normal was. And when all of that stuff was taken away, it's going to create that natural emotional response. And so it's important to recognize that it is natural and that I, as a mental performance coach, am not here to try and delete your emotions. That is not going to be helpful or possible because they are natural. It's more about creating space. I want to help you create space between that emotional response that happens at the moment of loss and what our action is that follows it. And if we can do that, we create the circumstances for us to act in a way where when this is all said and done, we can look back at what we did and say we were able to do the most that we could with what we had and be proud of the fact that we handled our business the best way that we were able to. Okay? It's not about deleting emotions. I'm not here to try and make you a robot. Anyone who tells you that they can get rid of your emotions, do not trust them. They're human. They're completely natural. Okay? So now that we kind of have an understanding of what the current state is, we can talk about what mental flexibility is and what it isn't. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to kind of compare it to mental toughness. So when we think of mental toughness, we're talking a lot about being sturdy and gritty and fighting through pain. And I'm borrowing a term from the esports organizations that I worked with grinding, and this idea of like just you're in a super uncomfortable, not great position, but you're just going to grit your teeth and get through it. And that is mental toughness is a very useful mental skill. It's super important to have, and I highly recommend developing it. But I would argue that right now we want more mental flexibility. And the reason why is because mental toughness is often tied in with an endpoint. Eventually, we will get to the end. I'll use an example of a cross-country runner. If I'm a cross-country runner and I'm running a 5K and I'm 2.1 miles into my race, I know I only have 1 mile left. And I might be tired, my legs might be heavy, my lungs might be burning, everything might feel like just horrible. But I'm gonna tap into my mental toughness. I'm gonna grit my way through it, both physically and mentally, and I'm gonna get to the end. That's an example of when mental toughness would be good. With the current state of things, we do not know what the end point is. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. We don't know what's going to happen a month, 2 months, etc. We have no clue. So this idea of just doubling down, of just gritting your teeth and being like, I feel like garbage, but I'm just going to put on a brave face and I'm just going to fight my way through it, is really actually kind of dangerous and can lead to a lot of very pent up emotion. It can lead to burnout. It can lead to depression. It can lead to generalized anxiety. It's not what we're looking for. What we want instead is this mental flexibility, this ability to be a little bit more loose, a little bit more malleable, able to bend without breaking, and being a little bit more adaptable to the situations that are being tossed towards us. Okay? We don't know if in 2 weeks we're going to be told that we need to stay inside for another month, or whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So we need to be able to kind of flex and work our way around what we're being told, so that way when those emotional responses happen, we can work ourselves through them. So that's how the two are a little different. Going a little bit deep dive on mental flexibility and what it offers, here are the big points that I think are super important to what's going on today. We've got coping with difficult and unforeseen circumstances. That one's obvious. There's so much difficulty. There's so much unforeseen stuff happening right now. Being able to cope with that stuff is going to be super crucial and important. Lets you feel first, then move forward. So this is where mental toughness and mental flexibility diverge, right? Because like we just talked about, mental toughness is just about, okay, you feel pretty uncomfortable, but you're just going to kind of double down and get your way through it. Whereas mental flexibility is more about, oh, you feel something, you need to let yourself feel it first, and then let's make a plan and move forward off of it. Focuses more on doing rather than dwelling. I'm huge on this one, just in mental skills in general. I want to create ways for you guys to develop these mental skills in the real world, not just kind of have them be ethereal and this thing that like, oh yeah, it would be great to be more confident. Yeah, everyone knows that. What are we going to do? How are we going to do that? Right? And instead of dwelling on some of these negative emotions that are happening from these losses, we're actually going to do something about them. So that way, like I said, we can get to the end of this and be proud of what we were able to accomplish. Confidence in your ability to handle your business. Going back to the coping with difficult and unforeseen circumstances, if you can walk into any situation and say, whatever is going to happen, I'm going to figure out a way to handle it, that's where your confidence comes from. So tying that together and saying that, whether or not you have the answer to the problem immediately or not ultimately doesn't matter, because you're confident in your ability to go and find those things, to handle and flex with the situation that's coming towards you. That's going to give you confidence. And then the last thing is just super important in general, and something that I push for everyone to try and do, being able to shift your perspective to see the other sides of things more clearly. Empathy right now is so crucial and so important, and I feel like being able to shift your perspective is part of that, and mental flexibility offers you the ability to do that a little bit more often. And then there's a ton of other things that mental flexibility will help you with, but again, these are just kind of the big ones. So now that we've talked about it, we can move into the best part of the presentation, which is the actionables, the things that you can actually do. So first and foremost, can you get more flexible? Yes, you can. I'm a mental skills coach. That means that everything that I talk about, motivation, stress and anxiety management, mental flexibility, mental toughness, goal setting, all that stuff, it's a skill. You can develop it, you can get better at it, and you can master it to some degree. Just like learning how to kick a penalty kick, or throw a ball, or bat, or go for runs, or whatever the case is, it's a skill, you can get better at it. And here is the 5 steps to help you develop your mental flexibility and get better at it. So I'm going to go through these first, just going through each step to explain what it is. Then I am going to go back through and I'm going to give you guys an example using my own personal experience of what I do. Okay? So step 1, create a plan. We don't want to get into a situation where we need to be mentally flexible and go, oh wow, I really wish that I had a plan, so I'm going to make one now, because it's not going to work. Okay? We need to create the plan before the situation occurs. So do it now. Okay? And we'll talk about what a plan is in a minute. Step 2, self-awareness. We need to be able to be self-aware of what we're feeling, of what triggered that, of what the situation is telling us that we should feel. And the best way to do that is to constantly be asking yourself, how do you feel? Whoa, that was a big thing that just happened. What did that make you feel? What emotions going through you? What thoughts are you having? Okay? I tie this really heavily into journaling, getting to the end of your day and just being like, hey, what were the big things that happened throughout your day? How did that make you feel? What did that force you to do? Or what do you feel that you did well? Or what do you feel like you could have done a little bit better, and why? Ask yourself those questions and write about it. So that way you can develop a better sense of where these things are coming from and what things potentially trigger certain emotional responses and certain reactions from you. The third step, acceptance. We need to be able to accept that we feel the way that we do. If we don't accept how we feel, then all we're really doing is putting a band-aid over a much bigger issue that just kind of sits under the surface and bubbles and dwells, and next thing you know, boom, we're Mount Vesuvius and we're wiping everything out. So we need to accept that things are not the best, okay? And that our emotions are valid. There's a big piece here with what I see a lot of people doing, where athletes in particular, coaches, are feeling very frustrated, feeling very upset, sad, angry, anxious about stuff going on, but they're going back to this idea of, oh, well, yeah, I feel that way, but at least I'm not in hospital, right? At least I'm not sick, or any number of things. And you're looking at someone else and saying that they have it worse, which is only kind of glazing over how you feel. And you need to accept how you feel first. Yes, that person has it pretty bad, but if you're feeling sad, upset, angry, all of those things, you need to be okay with that. You need to let those sensations be there and understand that they're there, and then you have the power to enact that plan from step 1. That's the 4th step. 5th step, just do it over and over again. Just like the penalty kick, just like the runs, just like the throwing or whatever else, you need to continue to practice it in order to get better at it. You get a little bit better each time. You figure out what works and what doesn't. I refer to it as being your own scientist. You'll be able to get through each situation a little bit better, and you're going to be able to be better by the end of it and say that you have a pretty good habit of handling these things and being mentally flexible. So those are the 5 steps. Now let's move through using a personal example from me. So before I get into the steps, the situation is that a university that I had been working with as a mental performance coach recently emailed me and told me that they were no longer going to be able to pay out the rest of my contract for the rest of the semester, and that they were unsure what the future looked like as far as my work with the university was going. So that was the situation. My plan, the thing that I do, is I go outside and I do diaphragmatic breathing in my backyard. And diaphragmatic breathing, for those of you guys who don't know, real simple breathing exercise, 7 seconds in through the nose, hold it for a second, 8 or 9 seconds out through the mouth. You do it for about 2.5 to 3 minutes. It's a really great stress reducer for anyone who's experiencing a ton of stress, but it also helps kind of clear the mind and give you, again, that separation that we're looking for. So I created my plan a long time ago, but that was my plan. That is how I handle this situation. So situation happens. I already have my plan in place. I'm immediately hit with all those sensations. Anxiety. What is that? What do you mean you don't know what the future holds? What does the future hold for me then? Stress. Oh, well, now I have to find another source of revenue because I needed that money for groceries and housing and all of that other stuff and my car payment and et cetera, et cetera. So I needed that, right? And all these emotions, all these feelings, anger, frustration, sadness, all this stuff just came washing over me. Okay? The self-awareness piece, I was able to recognize that is what was happening. I checked with myself. As soon as I read that email, whoa, that was a big change. That's a big thing that you weren't expecting to see. How do you feel? What's going on? What's going through your head? And I sat down and I wrote it out. Third thing, I accepted that I felt that way. All right, yeah, that's a really crappy situation. Now it's okay to feel upset about this stuff. It's okay to feel frustrated, but we have a plan, so let's do it. Moving to step 4, I went outside, did my breathing exercise, even though it was in the rain, was able to calm myself down, get to a point where I recognized the next step that I should do is email back the AD, thank him for letting me know, and start a conversation about what that means for the future and if there's anything I can do to continue to support the student athletes that I had been working with. We were able to already set something up where I'm able to at least do something to help them, with the potential for us to continue to discuss future employment and things of that nature in the future. And there you go. There's my steps, and now I'm right back to an even keel. I'm ready to do it for the next thing that comes up, and that's me training that mental flexibility. So the plan, just to kind of touch on that for a second as well, the plan can be anything you want it to be that helps you create distance between that emotion and your next response. Could be having a stress ball readily available, could be going for a walk, could be petting your dog, could be giving a phone call to someone that you care about and trust. Whatever the case is, it's all about trying to create the distance between that emotional feeling that you have and what you do next. Okay, so that's kind of the over-under on mental flexibility. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, concerns, things you want to know more about, you want another video on something else that's currently going on, please feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. You can follow me on the other stuff. Check out my website to learn a little bit more about me. Whatever the case is, I hope you guys all stay happy and healthy throughout this, and I hope that this presentation helps you guys be a little bit more mentally flexible in a time of uncertainty. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.